Most men don't fall because they were rejected. They fall because they were never told what they were truly chasing. They believe it's love, connection, completion. But what seduces them isn't a person. It's a projection, a sweet fog they walk into, blind. And that fog is powerful. It whispers comfort while it quietly rewires your mind. Until one day, you look in the mirror and realize you don't know who you are without her gaze. Socrates warned that the unexamined life isn't worth living. But what about the unexamined desire? The longing that leads a man to bend, to beg, to betray his own spine just to stay close to someone who never asked for his soul, only his submission. This isn't romance. This is intoxication. And most men, drunk on fantasy, confuse the two until it's too late. She didn't cast a spell. She didn't need to. You cast it on yourself. The moment you gave her the power to define your worth, your story stopped being yours. And the worst part? You thought it was noble. You thought sacrificing your purpose for her affection made you strong. But it didn't. It made you forgettable. Because no woman respects the man who can't stand on his own. You were told to be nice, to be soft, to give everything. But no one told you the truth. What is given too easily is never valued. She doesn't want your surrender. She wants your presence. She wants a man who knows where he's going, with or without her. A man who doesn't beg to be chosen because he chooses himself first. That's not arrogance. That's alignment. This is not about turning cold. It's about waking up, about remembering that your mission matters more than her approval, that your focus is sacred, that no woman, no matter how beautiful, charming, or tempting, is worth losing your core over. Because the man who trades his backbone for validation doesn't get love in return. He gets tolerated until something stronger shows up. If you're here, it's because you feel it. Something inside you knows this has to stop. So before we go deeper, I'll ask you for one thing. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, and comment below. I refuse to kneel again. Because this space isn't for soft men. It's for men who are ready to burn the illusion and reclaim their edge. She's not evil. She's not an angel either. She's nature, a force wrapped in curves and smiles. She doesn't plan the game. She is the game. Her instincts operate below the surface, coded into her biology long before she knew how to speak. And while you're dreaming of forever, she's scanning for strength, status, alignment, advantage. You thought your loyalty was enough? You were already losing. Socrates taught that the unruled soul becomes a slave to appetite, and the modern man, disconnected from reason, walks straight into seduction thinking he's in love, when he's really just another test subject in her unconscious selection process. She doesn't need to manipulate you consciously. Her instincts do the work for her. And you? You project meaning onto gestures that were never personal to begin with. You call it chemistry, but she was just measuring. You call it connection. She was calculating. You thought she was falling. She was evaluating your utility, your ambition, your composure, your scarcity. The second she sensed weakness, emotional instability, neediness, she didn't fight you. She vanished. No war, no announcement, just distance. Because selection doesn't apologize. It simply moves on. This isn't an attack on her. It's a wake-up call for you. Because while you're building a fantasy, she's following signals you've never been taught to recognize. And those signals don't care about how much you care. They respond to structure, to control, to power, to self-governance. And if you lack that, You won't be hated. You'll be replaced. Socrates didn't warn you to hate women. He warned you to know yourself, to know how you react to beauty, to charm, to desire. Because if you don't know why you want her, you'll never see how fast she can break you. Not because she wants to, but because nature doesn't wait for you to catch up. It moves through advantage. It rewards presence. And you're still trying to win her with poetry when she's watching to see if you can hold the storm. She doesn't control her instinct, but she knows how to use it. She doesn't think about the strategy. She becomes it. And if you're still out here leading with emotion instead of discipline, you're not in a relationship. You're in a test. And she's watching to see if you fold or rise. You think being nice makes you a better man. That being patient, gentle, endlessly available will make her see your worth. That your kindness is a ticket to her loyalty. You were lied to. What you call love, she often sees as submission. What you offer as care, she perceives as need. And what you think is proof of strength smells like desperation. Socrates didn't teach men to be agreeable. He taught them to be anchored. A man who agrees with everything avoids all tension and overgives to win approval isn't virtuous. He's invisible. Women don't fall for agreeable men. They fall for presence, for gravity, for men who have the courage to say no, to stand still in the storm, to be respected, even in silence. The truth is brutal. She doesn't admire the man who constantly proves he's not like the others. She tolerates him. And when something real enters the room, something raw, clear, unpredictable, he disappears from her radar. Not because he's bad, but because she never saw him as a challenge. And women don't crave what's always available. They crave what holds its shape under pressure. The nice guy lives in constant debt. He thinks he owes her comfort, validation, softness, approval. And in doing so, he becomes a mirror of what she already knows, her own emotional world. There's no tension, no fire, no leadership. Just another man orbiting her feelings instead of leading with his own principles. And she feels it, even if she can't explain it. Socrates would call it a corrupted soul, a man who traded his reason for romantic illusion. He thinks if he just gives more, she'll finally choose him. But giving more of what isn't respected doesn't raise your value. It buries it. Women don't stay for affection. They stay for alignment, for structure, for the man who doesn't flinch when she pushes, for the man who doesn't fold when she tests him. Stop trying to win her with comfort. She doesn't want you soft. She wants you solid. She wants a man who sees her clearly and still holds the line. A man who doesn't flinch, doesn't plead, doesn't dissolve into tears every time love gets hard. That's not cruelty. That's strength. And in a world of men who break, the man who stands unshaken becomes unforgettable. You think it's just a phase, that she's stressed, distracted, needing space. But let's stop pretending. Her silence isn't confusion. It's conclusion. It's not a pause. It's a quiet exit. And you're still holding on, hoping the warmth will come back. When the truth is, she's already gone. Not physically, emotionally, spiritually. She's just giving you time to catch up to the decision she already made. Socrates taught that clarity is power, and nothing is more disempowering than a man who refuses to see what's right in front of him. When she stops laughing at your jokes, stops reaching for your hand, stops asking where you are, she's not distracted. She's detaching. You think you're still in the relationship, but you're just a shadow, a placeholder, a memory she hasn't deleted yet. The most dangerous kind of heartbreak isn't loud. It's silent. It's when she keeps showing up in the same room, but not in the same way. Her eyes aren't on you anymore. Her body might be close, but her soul is elsewhere. And still, you stay, hoping, begging, inventing excuses. You think you're being loyal. You're not. You're being blind. Women don't always say, "I'm done." They say it with disinterest, with absence, with a cold shoulder you mistake for a mood swing. But it's not mood, it's movement, away from you. And the more you try to revive the connection, the more she resents you for not recognizing that it's already dead. The truth is this: when the energy is gone, it's gone. You can't beg it back. You can't bribe your way into her respect. Once a woman sees you as emotionally weak, she can't unsee it. She may stay physically, but emotionally, she's filed you under done. You just haven't read the memo. Don't wait for a breakup speech. Don't wait for a fight. The silence is the message. The distance is the truth. And the man who respects himself will feel it, stand up, and walk. Not because he's cold, but because he refuses to be someone's backup plan. Socrates would not have stayed begging for love. He would have bowed out with dignity, clarity, and the unshakable peace of a man who leads, even when he's leaving. They told you to be kind, to be patient, to be different. That if you just showed her how respectful, loving, and sensitive you are, she'd stay. But here's the truth. She doesn't want nice. She wants unshakable. She wants to feel the presence of a man who doesn't beg, who doesn't bend, who doesn't melt when she turns cold. Not because he's cruel, because he's centered. Socrates wouldn't have called submission a virtue. He called alignment with reason the highest good. And a man who sacrifices his structure to make her comfortable isn't loving. He's betraying himself. Women don't respect a man who gives everything. They respect the one who gives what matters, without losing who he is. Niceness is not the currency of desire. Clarity is. She doesn't consciously reject the nice guy. She just never feels him. He's too safe, too sweet, too predictable. There's no edge, no direction, no challenge. And in that emotional security he offers, she feels nothing. She wants a man who can look her in the eyes and say, "I want you, but I don't need you." Who can walk away without collapsing. Who has a spine stronger than her storms. You think she left because you weren't enough. No. She left because you never challenged her to rise. She left because she never felt tested by your presence. She left because you tried to be her comfort when she craved your command, not over her, but over yourself. And that, right there, is the difference between attraction and pity. Socrates taught that a man should master his appetites, and the appetite to be adored, accepted, and kept at all costs is the fastest path to being discarded. The man who fears rejection bends, and the man who bends for approval will keep bending until he disappears, because nothing disappears a man faster than surrendering the exact force that made him masculine to begin with, his unshakable presence. So stop trying to be the good guy. Be the solid one. Be the man who speaks with fewer words but more weight, who sets boundaries not to control, but to define his world. That's the man she respects. That's the man she craves. And if you ever forget it, just remember this. A woman can love a man's heart, but she follows his spine. Desire isn't the enemy, but when left ungoverned, it becomes a noose. And the man who begs for her attention, her love, her loyalty, is no longer a man. He's a servant to his own hunger. You think you're fighting for love, but you're not. You're negotiating your soul. And every time you do, you fall further from the throne you were born to sit on. Socrates warned that the soul enslaved to passion becomes its own prison. And in modern love, this prison is everywhere. Men chasing text messages, waiting by phones, checking last scene, replaying old moments like addicts waiting for a hit. You don't want her. You want relief. And that's not connection. That's withdrawal. She sees it. She might not say it, but she feels it. Your need makes her uncomfortable. Your desperation makes her tense. Not because she's cruel, but because something inside her knows. The man who begs can't protect, can't lead, can't hold. And her instincts, even when masked by modern smiles and progressive language, are ancient. They know what weakness smells like. And here's the truth you won't hear from mainstream culture. Once you beg, the game's over. Once you plead, you've told her everything she needs to know, that you've given her the crown, and you don't even know who you are without her approval. You've crowned her queen, while you sit bare and small, hoping to be chosen. And the more you give, the less she feels. Not because giving is wrong, because you gave without power. Desire, when examined, can be harnessed. But unchecked, it dissolves you. The man who lives for her gaze, her affection, her emotional weather, is not leading. He's orbiting. And the tragic part? He thinks he's being loving. He thinks he's being loyal. But loyalty that sacrifices your self-respect is not noble. It's weakness, dressed up as devotion. You lose your crown the moment you ask her to define your worth. You win it back the moment you say, I am complete, with or without her. That's not bitterness. That's power. That's clarity. And if you can sit in silence without needing her to fill it, then you've already risen higher than most men ever will. She's not afraid of loud men. She's used to them. She's seen ego. She's seen aggression. She's seen chaos. What shakes her? What lingers in her mind long after you've left the room is a man she can't move. The one who doesn't argue, doesn't chase, doesn't react. The one who sees everything and still refuses to fold. Socrates taught that wisdom is not in how much you speak, but in how much you endure without breaking. The man who remains calm under pressure, who holds his frame when tested, who doesn't need to prove himself, that man carries gravity. And gravity doesn't beg for attention. It pulls everything toward it in silence. Your calm doesn't just confuse her, it confronts her. Because most men crumble at the first emotional storm. They apologize for things they didn't do. They give more to stop the tension. They negotiate when they should walk. But you sit still. You speak slow. You don't flinch. And that stillness says more than 1,000 compliments ever could. This isn't indifference. This is discipline. It's not about being cold. It's about being composed. The calm man doesn't resist her emotion, but he doesn't absorb it either. He lets it move around him, but never through him. And that changes the entire dynamic. Suddenly, she's not in control of the emotional rhythm anymore. You are. And that shift? It rewrites the story. Women test not because they're cruel, but because they need to know. Can you hold steady when I'm spinning? Can you remain clear when I'm chaotic? Can you still lead when I'm unsure of everything? And if the answer is yes, she relaxes. She trusts. She follows. Not because you forced her, but because you became undeniable. So next time she withdraws, pushes, stirs the pot, don't escalate. Don't explain. Don't flinch. Hold the line. Speak less. Watch more. Because when a woman meets a man she can't manipulate, she doesn't walk away. She leans in. And in that moment, she knows. This one is different. This one doesn't need me to stay whole. They told you she would complete you. That she was the missing piece. That if you found the one, life would finally make sense. But they never told you the truth. She is not the reward. She is the test. Not the finish line, but the obstacle course. Not the prize, but the pressure that shows whether your frame holds or collapses. You thought she came to love you, but she came to reveal you. She came to expose every crack in your discipline, every hole in your self-worth, every illusion you've built around who you are. And the more beautiful she is, the more powerful the test. Because beauty blinds the unprepared. And Socrates warned, what you don't examine will control you. What you romanticize will ruin you. She's not testing you with words. She tests with silence, with tension, with withdrawal, with chaos, with moments where you feel like you're losing her. And that's the point. Because if losing her makes you lose yourself, you failed. If her distance turns you desperate, you weren't grounded. If her approval defines your actions, you never had a mission of your own. This isn't about hating women. This is about understanding the design. Her instincts are not malicious. They're ancient. She's not built to choose the most affectionate man. She's wired to select the most anchored one. The man who stays composed under pressure. The one who doesn't collapse when she pulls away. The one who walks, if he must, and doesn't look back. If you're shaken by her indifference, then it was never love. It was dependence. If you're destroyed by her rejection, then it was never connection. It was obsession. And if you're still trying to convince her, to prove yourself, to fight for a place in her world, then you don't have a world of your own. You've already failed the test. She is not the goal. Your mission is, your clarity is, your backbone is. She is the reflection of whether you're truly ready to lead or just pretending. So stop chasing her approval. Stop idolizing her attention. And start studying what she stirs in you. Because that's where your work is. Not in her hands, in your own soul. After the begging, after the waiting, after the slow erosion of his dignity in the name of love, a man has two choices: stay broken or rebuild. And the moment he chooses to rebuild, not out of rage, but out of clarity, he returns to the only place where power lives, his center. Socrates didn't teach men how to win others. He taught them how to rule themselves. The return doesn't start with action. It starts with subtraction, with silence, with distance, with brutal honesty. You begin to cut away everything that softened you, diluted you, made you predictable. You stop explaining yourself. You stop seeking permission. You stop performing. And in the void where her attention once lived, you build something unshakable: presence. You no longer obsess over her mood, her texts, her approval. You redirect that energy back to your craft, your discipline, your body, your purpose. You stop being an emotional refugee in her world and become a king in your own. And she feels it, even from far away. She senses the shift, the change in weight. You're no longer orbiting. You're anchored. And that changes everything. This isn't about becoming cold. It's about becoming solid. You start speaking slower, walking differently, thinking with precision. Your boundaries are no longer explained. They're simply enforced. Your mission is no longer negotiable. And now, when you enter a room, You don't ask for attention. You command it, without a word. Because the man who lives from center doesn't chase connection. He attracts it. She may come back. She may not. It doesn't matter. Because now, you're no longer seeking her for completion. You're seeking alignment. You're watching to see if she fits into your world, not trying to squeeze yourself into hers. And that's when you become dangerous, in the best way, because you're finally moving like a man who has nothing to prove and everything to protect. This is what Socrates meant when he said that an unexamined life isn't worth living, because the man who never studies himself will keep collapsing. But the one who stares into his own chaos and rebuilds becomes the kind of man even silence respects. He's not the richest. He's not the most charming. He's not the loudest in the room. He's the man who didn't fold. The one who, even when he felt the sting of silence, the ache of rejection, the weight of solitude, stood his ground. He didn't beg. He didn't chase. He didn't sell his soul for comfort. That man is the one she never forgets. Socrates didn't teach men to win women. He taught them to win themselves. And once a man does that, he becomes immune to illusion. He no longer mistakes validation for love. He no longer gives his power away just to feel chosen. He no longer places his peace in her hands, because he knows the moment she senses you need her to feel whole, she will never see you as a man again. She doesn't want your weakness. She doesn't want your endless availability. She doesn't want your emotional dependency. She wants the man who could walk away and still be whole, who can offer love without losing his edge, who can stay if he chooses, not because he fears being alone. That is the man she respects. That is the man she follows, not out of obedience, but out of reverence. You are not here to kneel for affection. You are not here to be soft enough to be chosen. You are here to lead your life like a king. And a king doesn't argue. He doesn't beg. He doesn't perform. He decides. He acts. He builds. And if she wants to walk beside him, she must come correct. Because he doesn't break his crown for anyone. This isn't about dominance. This is about clarity. About cutting the cord between your worth and her reactions. About no longer confusing her attention with your identity. And once you reach that place, the game is over. The illusions die. And all that's left is power. Quiet, earned, unshakable power. If this message hits something deep in you, it's because part of you is ready. So prove it. Like this video. Subscribe to the channel. And comment below. I am the man she can't break. Because here, we don't chase the fantasy. We kill it, so the real man can rise.